Here's my process for making this meteor/space rock cake inspired by Yip Studio in Brooklyn that makes beautiful carved rock cakes, but I haven't found a tutorial for cakes like these, so I literally just went by feel, and I hope this is helpful. I started with a 3-layered 8-inch cake and placed dowels toward one side to build more height on that side since I wanted the rock to end up with an organic, asymmetrical shape. I then stacked a 6-inch layer over the dowels and secured it with buttercream. This is a chocolate cake with black sesame buttercream, and I didn't add the blueberry compote that I have in the main 8-inch base because I wanted the top to be a bit more stable. And then for the last 6-inch layer, I Frankensteined some pieces together to fill in the gaps for a more solid base, and also so that no slice ends up with like a huge chunk of buttercream, though I don't think anyone would have complained about that. At this step, the cake really doesn't have to be pretty. This is really just for structural integrity, so don't be afraid to take the cake apart and place pieces where you need it. And this is what the base looked like before the crumb coat. Crumb coating is just the same as usual, taking the black sesame buttercream all around to seal in the cake. And after refrigerating it to set, I layered on more buttercream in different colors. This is where you could go wild with the colors, but it requires a bit of planning and deciding what colors you want to be revealed later when you go to carve through the surface. The idea here is that once you're completely done layering on buttercream, you'll then carve into it and see the colors beneath the surface peek through. So now's the time to basically add in however many colors you want to show up as accents later. I went for white and pink a la Barbie and finished off with gray since that's the main color I want the entire cake to be. And then afterwards I just refrigerated until it was completely cold and set. At this point you could keep the surface matte, but I wanted a shimmery finish, so I made a paint with luster dust and clear alcohol. You want the consistency to be pretty thick so it could be brushed onto the surface without sliding off. Mine started off a bit too thin and liquidy, so I had to add more luster dust to form more of a paste. Now this is where I would do things differently. After making like 1 or 2 cuts, I decided to paint the whole cake before carving further. And what I really should have done was make all the carvings first until I was satisfied with the shape, and then paint on the luster as a last step. What ended up happening with my approach here is that I kept having to repaint the surfaces because I was switching back and forth between painting and carving, etc. So this was not only a time sink, but it also had me use a lot more luster than I needed to. So next time, TLDR is make all the carvings first and then paint at the end. At this point, the buttercream is so cold that you could literally hack away at it with a knife. I wanted pretty like hard edges, straight lines, and so I wasn't afraid to just like scrape away at the surface. It makes it look more meteor rock-like. So yeah, just at this point, have fun with it. Keep carving away until you're happy with the final shape. There are also a couple instances where I carved too deep and got to the sponge, and so that's not a big deal. I just took some extra buttercream that I had already been scraping off and patched those areas up. For a bit more of a dramatic look, I went in towards the end with some deeper, larger cuts just as accent pieces. And also in places where there was too much pink showing through, I added some gray buttercream back in since I wanted the pink to just be an accent rather than like a main color that would compete with the silver. If you end up patching things up though, just pop the cake back into the fridge to fully set the cream before moving on. since wet cream does not work well with the luster paint. And at the very end, I did a final pass with the luster and we are done. I think it's so cool how it shimmers in the light with some pops of color. And people couldn't tell this was a cake, which was exactly what I was going for. One person even thought it was a ceramic, which is not usually a compliment for baked goods, but in this case, I was very happy to hear it. And when it came to serving, since I had doweled the bottom, I cut the top off first to then remove the dowels from the bottom and slice and serve as normal. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful.